Stephanie, tell us before we introduce you to the audience. I mean, you're a regular here at Startover, but some of the people on this call were not a part of our last one.
Right.
And give us a little bit of background of kind of what brought you here, and how did journaling and this idea become important in your life?
Yeah. Well, if you were in the last session with me in our bibliotherapy session, we talked all things reading, why it's important, why it matters, what the mental and physical and emotional aspects are, and how you can dive in to help reading support your life and how you want it to go. And for those that weren't there, I have been a pretty voracious reader and writer for as long as I can remember. I actually don't have very many memories of being read to as a child, but I remember those weekly trips to the library. I remember the weekly trips to the stationery store in Saratoga Springs on Broadway, walking the aisles, just smelling the notebooks and seeing all of the utensils. So reading and writing has been ingrained in me and what I do forever. I always have a book. I always have a notebook, always have. And that love of reading and writing, that love of literature, of putting my own words down on the paper, led me to pick education and teaching as my career, and specifically the kind of teaching job that could let me read and write books all day, and that's it with kids. So I was a classroom teacher turned literacy teacher, and now ultimately turned literacy teacher educator. So I spend my days working with teachers who want to become literacy teachers, and I write books for teachers on how they can boost their own reading and writing lives so that they can turn around and do the very same thing in the classroom and bring this kind of joyful reading and writing to their students as well.
Fabulous. And you have two amazing books, Stephanie. But the one thing I do want to say before you start and before you hear or you see about your audience tonight is that there are many people like John Rolander who have not grown up in that same vein. And so it is not something that you have to have had this love all along, right? So I just wanted to put that out there because I don't want people to think if you haven't done this if you haven't done it all your life, then that's it. So you'll take us into that in a little while.
Yes.
All right, let's see who your audience is, Danny.
Right. Those are awesome images you paired with those responses. All right, so I've got some that I'm speaking to the choir, and I have a few that I am going to win over tonight for sure.
Woo-hoo!
Love a challenge. So we've got a mix here. We write for work. Some of us write for pleasure. We've got a mix of both. Again, nice balance. These memes are great. What comes to mind? Oh, these are great. Memories, a number 2 pencil, not now, achy hands. I hear you there. Write, rewrite, edit, imagination, creativity. Awesome. We're going to talk about all the things tonight, from the physical aspect of writing to the emotional side to the creative side. Do you know what notebooking is? 50-50. Okay.
So maybe that is, Danny, that our last question? Oh no, we have one more.
Yes, we'll talk more about this one after. Oh, we've got lots of people who want to know about lots of things. Wonderful. So we'll probably tackle morning pages and gratitude a little bit later.
Okay, great.
Wonderful.
So it sounds like the first question we need to kind of tackle is, what is notebooking and why does it matter?
Right. What is notebooking? So most of us know, all of us know what a notebook is, right? It's a book of paper that we fill with notes. And so notebook as a noun, But notebooking as a verb is simply the act of keeping a notebook, the act of keeping a journal, the act of keeping a diary. It's essentially a book that holds the notes of your life that you carry close to you and you fill in ways that matter to you. Now, why does that matter? If you thought there were good things that came with boosting your reading life, there are lots of good things that come with boosting your writing life, and considering bringing writing, notebooking, journaling, whatever term feels right for you, bringing that into your life as well has physical, mental, and creative impacts there. When we talked about reading, we said the research shows that you really only needed about 6 minutes of reading a day in order to kind of harness the impact of reading. And writing is fairly similar. So the research varies in terms of how long or how often, but a lot of the research showed that writing 15 to 20 minutes a day, just 3 to 4 times a month,
Wow.
a month,
A month.
a month was enough to get the impacts. Now, the more you write, the more impact you'll get, just like the more you read, the more impact you get. But 15 to 20 minutes, 3 to 4 times a month, completely doable. Right now,
Wow.
where you get that 15 to 20 minutes 3 times a month is up to you. If you're a morning person, maybe you set the alarm a little bit earlier and you write in the quiet where nothing is distracting you. If you're a night owl, you might decide to wind down by heading to your notebook, and I'll give you a couple of different ways of what that might look like. Or maybe you figure out where you can sneak time into your day, whether it's part of your lunch break, it's some sort of wind down from work routine, or just sneaky writing where you find a moment of free time and you put that into your day too. So regardless of where you find it, if you find it, we've got 3 main categories of positive impacts: physical, mental, and creative. And the
Wow.
physical impacts, these are the ones that kind of blow my mind a little bit. So we know, just like reading, writing, the act of sitting down to do some sort of writing calms us down. It makes us still. It lowers our blood pressure, which can help us feel more calm. If we write at night, especially the kinds of writing where we write to get things off of our chest, we write to process the day, it has been shown that people who write before bed sleep better because the stuff is off of their mind and on the paper, right? Who couldn't use a little bit more sleep? And if we get more sleep, then we have even more of those impacts that come with just actually being a more well-rested person. But the one piece of research that really just kind of shocks me, and the one that I've been diving into lately, is that writing, especially the kind of writing where we're processing things and we're getting our thoughts out on paper so they're not stuck up here in our head, boosts immune function. And in the era of a global pandemic, I would think that that is pretty good news. And
Wow.
by boosting immune function, there's research that shows it boosts liver function, but the 2 exciting pieces, or the more recent ones, are the positive impact it can have on asthma and autoimmune disease like rheumatoid arthritis. Like, mind blown with those ones there, right? So we all need to pick up our pencil and start taking notes on some of the research from tonight. Now, mentally and emotionally, writing, especially again, writing to process what's going on in your life, or just writing to think about your day, your goals, that has been shown to boost our emotional wellness. Because we're writing about our life and we're thinking through the events and we're processing what happens, it can boost our mood, especially if we're writing about our gratitude and we weave in a gratitude practice, which we'll talk about. That is even more research behind it that shows we are happier, we are healthier, we are more productive if we are focusing on the positive, on the good, on gratitude, which means it helps us manage our anxiety, to lower stress, and even multiple research studies to show that it seriously helps people who are struggling with depression. Besides that, if we write with one of these and one of these, right, not typing, if we bring in the old-fashioned analog and we literally keep a notebook and it's not a digital notebook, then we can add a lot of impact around keeping our memory sharp and remembering information and assimilating new information that we write about into our brains, because we're kind of bridging the left side of the brain with the right side of the brain. As long as we're doing that by hand, those impacts are much stronger. And if that weren't enough, I've got one more.
Yeah, go.
So the creative side, even if you don't think you are creative, everybody is creative in some sort of unique way. And if you use your notebook to try to explore that creativity, and I don't mean anything fancy, I mean keeping a list of ideas, keeping a bucket list of things you want to do, a list of affirmations or things that inspire you. That kind of writing has been shown to boost your overall feelings of creativity, kind of expands what you think is possible for your life. And it gives you a space for your own voice to tell your own story. Even if you don't think you have a space for it publicly, you do not have to share your notebook. In fact, many people hide it so that no one does see it. And beyond that, I mean, our notebooks that we keep, they're historical documents, right? Someday people are going to look back and say, how did those people do it? How did they live through the global pandemic? How did they live through the coronavirus? Our notes, our notebooks, the things that we keep about this time end up being primary sources for generations later that try to figure out what life was like. And so just keeping a notebook as an archive of your life and then being able to look back on it, boost your creativity and your feelings of happiness, at least for the people in the studies that we saw. So hopefully that convinced you to consider this notebooking thing and to dive in deep to what we're talking about tonight.
And you are going to sent me articles that actually support this. And this actually, we do have a Facebook group now, and I know that Debbie is placing those articles in the Facebook group, and we will also send them out in the notes. But so you wanted to have everyone do something in the chat, is that true?
I do, yeah. So if I just gave you a really quick version of the physical benefits, the mental benefits, and the creative benefits. Which category do you need right now? Like, what could writing best give to you? What would be the boost you need? Would you be looking for the physical aspect, for the emotional, for the creative? What seems to be calling out?
So as everyone is writing, it's pretty amazing, all the benefits. It seems like, is she frozen for everybody else? Okay, great. I thought it was just me.
Let's wait a moment to see if she come back.
We won't tell her what face she had when she was frozen. Oh, she's coming back in a second. Now John is pinned with those lovely books. Hello?
Am I the only one kicked out?
Yes, but your students did all of this in the chat. Emotional, creative, all of it.
Okay.
Yep.
You have is one jumping out over the other? Was it a balance?
It feels, I don't know, I haven't counted them, but it feels pretty even.
No idea where I went. So thank you for sticking with me while I figured out how to get back in.
I actually thought maybe it was just me. So everybody was able to tell me, no, it's not just you, Susie. So, yes. So it seems like this is pretty overwhelming data. I have to tell you, I am a literacy person myself, Stephanie, and I am floored by this data. I have to tell you, I am sitting here saying, I didn't bring a notebook on my trip. I need to go out and buy a notebook tomorrow. This is terrible. But I think we all see the benefits, but what I know from our conversations that there, it is not just one type of notebooking. There actually, and I think there are so many different kinds that you were going to mention that it opens the door for not, I don't think everybody is a person who would sit down and like write everything about their day or right. And so you have many different options, which I think widens the possibility for people to actually start to do some notebooking.
Yeah, I think when people think of notebooking, they often think of journaling and keeping a diary, which may bring up memories of, being a kid and writing about your day, or you think, I don't even have enough time to complete the things in my day, let alone take a piece of paper and write about what I did that day, right? So there are multiple kinds of notebooking to fit your personality, to fit your purpose, to fit what you want to get out of it, the benefits you want to take away. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to share my screen here. I have a notebook or two. And I wanted to show you kind of my life in notebooks so that you can see that there is an entry point for everyone. There is no one way to do notebooking, and every single bit of writing counts. Just like when we read, it doesn't matter if they're romance novels or if they're hard nonfiction or books that are trying to broaden our reading life, all writing counts. So just to give you a quick little overview, that one on the top left, my notebook, I call that me and my big ideas notebook, because that is the notebook I go to when I have a book idea and I want to flesh it out because it's hardcover and it's got thick pages and it just feels like it's something special. I want to keep my ideas there. The one in the middle, and by the way, that one has to be no lines. I have to have blank pages in order to write all over it. The one in the middle is my personal notebook. That's my brain dump notebook. It's whatever's on my mind and in my heart goes in that notebook, which has lines so that I can write a little bit straighter and is hidden somewhere in my house. So no one else will ever see it. My writing notebook on the right, that's where I tinker with ideas. When I see a quote in my reading that I love, I write down quotes. I write down really great opening lines that I find that I might want to try in my own writing. And you'll notice it's smaller because I need to put it in my purse. It needs to travel with me so that I have it wherever I go. The one in the bottom left is my professional notebook. It's where I keep my meeting notes. It's where I plan for my week ahead. It's my work to-do lists. I have it sitting right here to take notes from the Startover session. It's got the things I wanted to remember to say. The one in the middle is my favorite. And this one, I told you I'd tell you about this one, John. This is my just because notebook, which means it does not serve a special purpose. It's just in my life, just because, mainly because it's made out of cork. And I figured if it could be in a wine bottle and instead it ended up in my notebook, then it's a notebook I have to have around somewhere just for anything, to-do lists, ideas, you name it, it goes in there. And then the last one on the right, and maybe you're thinking, okay, do I need an idea notebook? Do I need a just because notebook? The last one on the bottom right is my one little thing notebook. And for those of you that I know online, you know that I choose a word every month to guide how I want that month to go. It could be joy. It could be margin, trying to find more space in my life. It could be read, so I read more. My one little thing notebook is on my bedside table. My daughter decorated this one with stickers. And every night I open up a page, put the date at the top, and I write one thing that I did that day that would bring me closer to my one word. It's kind of like an accountability notebook so that you can look back on the month or look back on the quarter and see all those little things that you did in an attempt to live the kind of life that you want to live. So there is no one right way to notebook. I'm going to just stop sharing so that we can see each other again. And there's really 3 categories of notebook that I want you to consider. And this is where I'm going to win most of you over, because you're thinking there's one way of notebooking, which is just writing about your day and processing things. And that's not the case. That is the main form of notebooking, though. When people think of notebooking, they think of reflection. So one category of notebook is reflective writing. It's the most common. It's where you open up the pages of a notebook to process life. What happened to you today? What experience are you going through? What emotions are you feeling that you want to get out of your mind and out of your heart and onto the page? It's kind of like a Dear Diary, right? Kind of notebooking where you're just writing to record and writing to process. But that's not the only kind of notebooking. If that kind of writing isn't for you, right? You don't have time to do that, or it's not something that you might even want to do. There are 2 other kinds of notebooking that might suit you better. And the second one is productive writing. So we've got reflective writing where we process things that have happened to us. Productive writing is where we plan for good things to happen to us, right? We try to take a more proactive approach. This is where we keep a notebook where writing helps us function better in our lives. So things like the to-do lists or the weekly goals or jotting down ideas for a project, your bucket list, your grocery list, your list of, let's see, things you need to do for work, any kind of list or writing or jotting or capturing ideas that will help you make tomorrow better is really this kind of writing. It's writing to get things done. It's kind of the agenda movement where we all have these planners that we're keeping everything in, to-do notebooks, health and wellness notebooks. You name it, there's a notebook for that. And this kind of notebooking is a little bit more functional, which could appeal to some of you a little bit more. And then the third category is the more creative kind of notebook. This is where we're not just writing text, but we're bringing in pictures. We're taping photographs into our notebook to remember. We're drawing things. We're using colorful Sharpie markers and stickers and washi tape and all of the things that could make notebooking a more artistic and creative experience. So no matter what kind of person you are, what kind of personality, generally one of those 3 types kind of speaks to us, whether we want to write to reflect, we want to write to get stuff done and really make our life more functional, or we need an outlet, right? To just be creative. So this is where, Suze, we were going to try to find out which notebooking page they might want to know more about, right?
Yes.
I think it was morning pages. Was that the one?
Yep.
From the
Morning
menu?
pages, and I think it was gratitude practice.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again.
Can I ask a question before? Jet had asked ways back, for those of us with atrocious illegible penmanship, what would you recommend we do to get as much out of these benefits as possible?
That's what I was starting to answer when I went missing.
Great.
So the thing about notebooks, no one else sees them. So you can have beautiful handwriting, you can have atrocious handwriting. It's really just that it's legible to you because you are the only person who has to make sense of it and capture it. Generally, our notebooks are personal and private. So if you have that handwriting that you don't enjoy or is maybe laborious, then maybe you do a different kind of journaling, which we'll talk about after, which is bullet journaling. And you do list making and phrases and jotting things down rather than the typical longhand. And you choose your notebook carefully as well. Blank pages versus line pages versus dotted pages all can set us up to be able to write what we want to write, but don't worry about the messy handwriting. It doesn't matter as long as you could read it.
So Diana, on this same idea, what do you do? And this is something I really want to understand. What do you do if you don't use one for a while and then you realize there are blank pages, but you're ready to start a new notebook? Do you recycle paper or do you simply close it and start your new notebook?
Okay, this is such a me question. This is something that I would have asked as well. Just like in reading, if you have a book that isn't suited for you and you figured that out halfway through, you have the right to abandon that book and not finish it. And you have the right to abandon a notebook. If that half-filled notebook just doesn't sit well with you, you want a fresh start and you want to start over, then start over. It's recyclable, so don't worry about it. I do that. I have some that are saved as just in case, or I might use as scrap paper, but I love the idea of starting a new notebook. So it is completely up to you and what makes you feel good, but you have my permission to just move that one to the recycle bin and get a new one based on the questions I'm going to ask you.
I am so glad Diana asked that question.
Great question.
Okay.
Okay, so morning pages. Let's do that one
Great.
first. Morning pages come from Julia Cameron. And basically, it is a kind of notebooking where you do it first thing in the morning, hence the name of morning pages. And Julia recommends 3 pages, although I vary between 1 and 3. 3 is just a guideline to try to get you to write for as much as you can. And it's 3 pages of longhand, so not typing, but writing in the notebook, stream of consciousness writing. So whatever happens to be on your mind when you wake up, you write about it. It could be writing about the events of your day to come. It could be writing about something that happened to you yesterday. It could be writing about, you need to take a trip to the grocery store and here are the things I need to get. It's anything that crosses your mind so that you get it off your mind on the paper and you can start the day with a really clean start. It's not overthinking it. It doesn't matter what goes on the page. The idea is that you train yourself to get into this habit, and that if you look at your morning pages over time, you might see patterns in what you're writing about or patterns of what's on your mind, of what you're going through, so that you learn more about yourself in the process. Oh, you're muted, Suze.
I actually took a class with Julia Cameron. She did say you could leave your coffee plugged in and just push go and then do the writing pages. But here's a question that I have for you, Stephanie. There are many private things. When I did the morning pages, I mean, there were things that I'm not sure I would want my girls to read, or right? How do you, I mean, this sounds really silly, but do you have a plan for, like, what if you got hit by a car tomorrow? Do you have a plan for all of your notebooks? Just saying. I mean, it's something to think about.
It is something to think about. And here's the scary thing. The one notebook that I would need a plan for, I have a plan for. It's hidden, first of all. I would challenge my kids to find it. It's in a spot where I can get it quickly, but I know it's going to be private. I have 3 teenagers in the house, and who knows what they find. And I have on the very first page, a sticky note that says, this is mom's private notebook. Like, proceed at your own risk, and know that she was writing about her life at the time and she loves you very much no matter what. It's written right in the notebook. So
wow.
Only my personal notebooks, right? The ones that I don't want anybody to find quite yet. So yeah, I do have a little sticky note in there that says it, but it's in a good hiding spot. And you want your notebook to be somewhere where you know it's safe, because if you don't feel safe writing on the page, then you won't get those effects that you truly want.
Theodora says that she has a plan for her best friend to come and collect them.
Yes.
Go, Theodora.
That's right. You need that in place, right? If
Yep,
your life is
yep.
on those pages, you
right.
need to take care with those.
Okay, sorry, I interrupted you. Keep it going.
No, I like that. I'm just gonna go here. I'm gonna go to the gratitude. We had a couple of other pages, but we can put those in the notes again, right?
Yep,
Like we did with
absolutely.
reading.
Yes.
Okay, so here, gratitude was the second one, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so this one is one that anybody can do. And I guarantee if you do it consistently, will really transform the way you think and the way you look at the world around you. But a gratitude notebook, a gratitude practice is basically just training yourself to look for the good in your life, no matter where you find it, no matter how big, no matter how small, and then capturing that in a notebook so that you have it over time. So you can see the example in the middle is a gratitude list where there are prompts to get you thinking, what could you be thankful for in your life? And then also just a very large gratitude list on the right where you're thinking of all of the good in your life. The powerful piece is that if you do this daily, so if you wake up and write 5 things that you are grateful for from the previous 24 hours, that's when research shows it has the potential to change the way you see people, the way you see the world, and your level of happiness that you self-assess in your life, because it changes your spin on things. It changes your lens. And so this is something that is quick, right? 5 quick things every day. I'll give you some prompts for that later on. But this is a popular one, especially now as we're all for the past year kind of grappling with a whole lot and trying to latch on to the good things, that this is a quick way to start a notebook practice by just listing 5 things every day. And if you don't have a notebook, you could always get my gratitude notebook is actually a calendar, an agenda, the weekly agenda. And I just write the 5 things right in the little Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday spaces and keep it that way. So then you can look back on it and see what you were grateful for months ago and how that kind of showcased what your life was like at that time.
Can I ask a question about that? So I'm assuming something. I have tried this a couple of times, Stephanie, and what I've always felt like is I say I'm thankful for the same things over and over again, and so I'm wondering, did I just not do it long enough? I don't know.
Nope, I have a suggestion for you.
Okay.
And it's one that I actually recommend at the very end, is the one thing everybody tries. What happens is everyone always goes to that list, and you can see some of them here. I'm thankful for my family.
Right.
Thankful for my home. I'm thankful for
Right.
my job. I'm
Right.
all of these big grand things that the next day you're still thankful for your family and still thankful for your
Yeah.
job and still thank you for all of those things. So here's the trick. And,
Okay.
and this is where the research comes in of how it can be the most powerful. When you have a gratitude notebook, you need to be very specific of exactly what you're grateful for. So not I'm grateful for my kids, but I love that my kids have a really great sense of humor and they make me laugh. So very specific. And then the second thing is it has to be something that you're grateful for within the last 24 hours.
Okay.
That each day you're mining your day from the day before,
Mhm.
thinking very specifically about something you saw, something you did,
Right.
something you experienced, so that you're training yourself to be more specific, and then you don't fall into that I was already grateful for that yesterday trap. So
Right.
specificity and timeliness within the 24-hour period.
Okay, that's super helpful.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm going to go, because we did the top 2, but here's what I want you to think about next. What notebook is right for you? So there is, as I said, there is no one right way to do something. You do not need any special materials. You go to the dollar store and get any old notebook and any pencil that you've got lying around in order to just put pen to paper and reap those benefits. But if you indulge yourself a little bit, and you choose a notebook that speaks to you, a notebook that you love, a notebook that fits your lifestyle, you will be more apt to write in it. And if you're more apt to write in it and you write in it regularly, then you're going to get those benefits in much higher levels that we talked about at the beginning. So I've got a little set of questions for you. And I want you to think of like word association. When I say this, or when I ask this, what's the first thing that pops into your head? And I want you to jot it down, or at least hold on to it up there in your mind so that you can figure out what the perfect notebook is for you. And you might think I'm going over the top with some of these questions, but I'm not. And you're going to enjoy it by the end. So let me just get to the right slide here. Here we go. So there's you with your notebook in the middle. Ready for some quick questions. Jot down the first instinct that comes to mind. So the first question, how large do you want your notebook pages to be? Do you want it to be like a 8.5 by 11, like a page that you would have printed, a larger notebook? Or is that too intimidating and too much to fill a page in a day? And so you want a smaller size notebook. So it seems like something that's more doable to you, that you'll be more successful with a smaller page. So gut reaction, smaller, large, and just hang on to it for a minute. I'm going to ask for your ideas in the chat box after. Second question, gut instinct. Are you a blank page kind of person? Do you need those lines? Or do you prefer the dots, the light dots that might help you not only write, but sketch or draw? Do you have a strong preference of one over the other? And we usually do. Third question, and I'm really getting specific here, but where do you like the spiral edge of your notebook? Are you a traditional left side of the spiral, or are you a rule breaker? Do you like that spiral at the top because it looks more like an artist's notebook and it makes you feel like you're doing something really great?
Or your hand can get further on the left if your spiral is at the top.
True. I wasn't even thinking of that, Suze. Good one.
Yep.
Next question. Do you need the pages to be removable? Okay, this is really where my type A personality comes in. But if I have a work notebook or if I have a bullet journal, I like things to be organized. They have to be organized. And so I have some of my notebooks are those removable discs, or it's where I can take my pages out and move them around so it's more organized. And if I can't do that, if I just have a regular notebook like this one, right? It's just a regular notebook on the side, then I put a table of contents in the front. I save the first 3 pages so that I can jot down what's in the notebook as I add each page with a quick page number. And that way I can go back and find all of the things that I was writing about. You may not need that level of organization that my brain demands.
So I'm very interested in these removable pages. Will you give us a link to
Sure.
the notebooks that you can, that might solve a ton of things for me.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
not a notebook in a sense, but they're these little discs that you can put whatever size paper you want into it and kind of create your own so that
Okay.
you have more power over it. But I will definitely send you
Great.
a link. Okay, I think we have 3 more questions. By the time we're done, you'll have your perfect notebook here.
Great.
Will your notebook travel with you? So are you like me, where one of your notebook needs to be smaller and you choose your purses based on if your book and your notebook can fit into it? Please tell me someone else does that in the call. Or will it just stay home on your bedside table or your desk? And so you really don't have to worry about the durability or the size of it. The next question, though, kind of relates to that. Do you want or do you need a notebook that has a hard cover so that if it is getting thrown into a purse or a bag or a crate, is it safe? Is it protected? Do you need to have one of those little straps, those little elastic doohickeys that kind of keep all of your pages in so that it doesn't accidentally open up in your purse and get crumbs or coffee or something on it like mine have done? So maybe you consider the cover and you consider that elastic band. And then finally, I'm not ignoring all of you that love digital notebooks. Do you prefer to write digitally? Would you rather write on your Notes app or your Evernote or whatever your app is on your phone, because that feels more convenient to you? You'll still get some benefits, but you might not get all of them because, how I mentioned, that pencil to paper is really important. But maybe for you, a digital notebook might be the way to go as your first entry point. So I'm really curious. Head to the chat box for me. Give me a couple of words of what your notebook is, like small, blank page, hardcover, or are we spiral at the top, lines?
Wow.
What do we got? Let me open-
Atif has the entire thing. But I do have to say, I'm feeling a little bit like you've left out our dear friends, pens and pencils, because if anybody comes to my house, my poor family knows, I swear I'm gonna die, and people are gonna come in and say she was loony about pens.
You'd be good company. I could have a whole nother slide on pens, right?
Okay,
Fine
all
tip,
right.
Felt tip, flare pen. Yes, we only dove into the notebooks today. And
Okay,
looking, we've got a nice range. Hardcover, lined, 8.5 by 11, small, durable, large.
Melissa asked, is it possible that different notebook styles are good for different times in life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if you are short on time and you're always rushing around, your notebook might be better suited to be smaller with a hardcover so that you can just feel like you're getting something on the page and not be overwhelmed by that blank page. But if you're at a different stage of your life where you have more time, or maybe you're traveling, or you're doing more things for yourself rather than other people, you have more to write about, then maybe that's where you have the larger pages come back to you. Or you can be like me and just have one of all of them and figure out a different purpose for each of them. Removable pages, not hardcover, stay at home, graph paper, more than one notebook. Kathleen, yeah, you're speaking my language, right? I need more than one. Absolutely. Grid and dot. I was always a blank page kind of person, and grid and dot is what has recently won me over. Look at all these different ones.
Yes.
Notebook hoarders and all.
Maybe this is the time that we tell people that we are giving out a couple of notebooks. What are we going to choose, Stephanie? What notebooks? Do you have some that we're going to give out?
I have my favorites. And I also know from people I work with what some of the favorites are. So one of them, I think the one that I would want to give away is another cork notebook, because it's just too special to not have someone have a just because kind of notebook. And then I don't know, Suze, what do you think is the next one? Looking through what everyone likes, we've got a range. Moleskin's always great too.
I know Moleskins are. I'm
Or we'll
so
surprise
upset.
them.
What?
Or we'll surprise them with whatever.
Okay, we'll surprise them. We have our ways of picking. So we will tell you by the end of the session who is getting these special notebooks.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So what are three, I'm looking at time and we don't have a lot of, we're actually a little over time.
I don't know how that happened.
I don't know how that happened. What are three powerful ways I could use my notebook today?
Okay, so I've got three where I'm gonna kind of prompt you into three different categories. So I want to give you one reflective kind of page, if that's the kind of writing that speaks to you. I want to give you a productive kind of writing, if that is more your style, and then a more creative piece. So depending on which one resonates with you, maybe you'll try one tomorrow. So let me just go to the next slide here. So my favorite way of using my reflective notebook is by using a brain dump. And Susie knows I love brain dumps. I've made her do one before. But here's what I would recommend that you do. It's a productive aspect of writing to help get what's on your mind off of your mind and onto the page. And so what you do is you open up to a nice gleaming clean page and you write down everything that's weighing on your mind. Everything from the big things like the state of our world to the pandemic to did I pick the right career, down to why won't my kids put the laundry in the laundry basket instead of leaving it on the floor, and what am I going to have for dinner next week? All of those things that weigh on your mind that are bothering you, as long as you need as many lines as you need. But then here's the powerful thing, and this is where the reflective piece of the notebook comes in. I want you to get a different colored pencil or a different pen or a different something. And I want you to scroll through your list, and I want you to circle the items that you can actually control. Only the items that you can control, and see what is now left on your page. And then scan through the circled items only and pick one thing that you could do something about, one thing that you could do, one little small step that could make tomorrow better because you took the time to just think through it on your notebook. Super powerful, right, Suze? I know.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can go back to that, right? I mean,
yes, and then pick the next thing.
Right, and then pick the next thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
It's kind of a map.
Yes. And you can do that as often as you need. Whenever you feel stressed, whenever you can't get something off your mind, that's the perfect way to show up to the notebook page. The second thing that I think everybody should try is that gratitude practice. So really taking time to think in the last 24 hours, what are at least 5 very specific things that I'm grateful for. And this is a list of prompts that we can include in the notes. It's one that I found on social media that really supported my practice of when you can't think of things, what are some prompts that could get us started, from the very big things all the way down to the little things, like what was something funny that happened or something you saw in nature on a walk, to train yourself to think in a more positive way and use your notebook to help you stay accountable to that kind of thinking, or your agenda if you're doing something similar like I did. And then the third thing is to get a little bit more creative and try sketchnoting, which is one of my favorite things.
Okay, you did not do that sketchnoting, did you?
Oh, no.
Okay, I was gonna say, I think you're amazing, but all right.
Remember, Susie, notebooks are private. No one is seeing.
Okay. Sorry, I broke that rule.
I could have drawn that stick person on the other page, but that was about it. But I wanted to show you that anybody can get creative in their notebook, even if you don't feel like you're creative. And really, sketchnoting is just putting a combination of text and image and structure to whatever you're writing about, so that you're not doing it longhand in complete sentences. You are just putting powerful phrases or drawing something or doodling all over the page as you think about what you want to write. It just helps you access a different side of the brain to get more creative, even to get more emotional, and to really process what's going on the page. So it could be sketchnoting about your day or something that happened to you, or it could just be sketchnoting something that matters to you, a hobby or something that you have, and you're just using your notebook page as a place to try out something with a little bit more creativity. So 3 things any of us could do tomorrow. I would love to know which one resonates with you the most. Which one would you be most willing to give a try? Is it the brain dump? Is it the gratitude practice? Or might it be getting creative and doing a little sketching along with our text? I'm just going to open the chat box over here. Which one might be best for you? All 3's okay too. Morning pages,
brain dumps.
Brain dump. We've had a heck of a year. I think we could all use the brain dump right now. Just make sure you do that extra step, which is circle what you control.
That's key.
And choose one. That's what makes the brain dump productive, rather than just admiring our problems. We're something we can do something about.
Yeah.
Sketch notes and sketching. Awesome.
Rolander, where's yours? Hmm. Well, Stephanie, if it were up to me, you would be here every month. Everything, I always learn so much from you, and I appreciate you so much. Our last thing we're going to do is ask everybody to go back into Mentimeter and write down, how might you start over with writing? And when we talk about starting over, we're talking about the little thing where it's not that you have to start writing every day. What is some small step that you might take that will help you start over in a notebooking life? So Danny has put that link in the chat. So if you want to go to that link and write what you are going to do, use one of my many empty notebooks once a week. Love that.
That's right. Small steps, right? Grab something you have and make a plan once a week. Sketching counts. Absolutely. It all counts.
Yes, notebooking, so beautifully said. Notebooking is a perfect way to process life.
Yes.
One word journal, simple, tangible. And really do, are you gonna list your blog where you talk about your one little word? Do you have that on there?
Yes,
That
so I can type it into the chat box
Oh,
quickly.
great, perfect.
It is alitlife.com, which is short for illiterate. So
Great.
life.com, which my kids make fun of me all the time because they said I'm calling myself wonderful by saying I'm lit, but educators know what I'm talking about.
Hey, my Twitter hashtag for my classes at Bank Street are Lit Bank Street. So there you go.
There we go. There we go. These
Really
are
love, yeah, so many options. We all evolve, and notebooks. That's the thing. I think there are a couple things for me tonight, is that it's okay to have different notebooks. Sometimes I feel like I have so many that I'm kind of being wasteful, or that, but I loved your idea of kind of defining what each one is for. So John, did you hear that? It's okay to have a lot of notebooks.
and pens.
And therefore you need a lot of pens. Absolutely.
That's right.
Stephanie, thank you so much. What an honor. And thank you for your time. And it's just, you have this way of really inspiring. I mean, so many people have talked to me about your previous session. So maybe for those people who didn't get to come last time, we will send you ticklers if we are able to convince Stephanie to come back. So thank you so much. And I have to go shopping online and find we need to announce the people who won, Stephanie.
Yes.
Melissa won a notebook. And did you have someone? I have another person that from a system but if you have somebody.
Nope, you go ahead. You go ahead. Mine was just going to be a random looking up participants. So you use the system.
Okay, Brian also gets one. So Melissa and Brian, if you could message me privately in the chat with your address, full name and address, then Stephanie and I will chat about which notebooks to send you, and you will get a notebook, and maybe I will put in a special pen too, Stephanie, with that notebook. So thank you all so much.
Yes,
and
thank you. And for staying late.
Yeah, really, it was hard to stop this one. So you're the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Right.